Saints have been linked to a couple of trades via ESPN. So in this video, we're going to share what they had to say, and I'm going to give you my takes. But really quick reminder to subscribe to Saints Now by Chat Sports so you don't miss any updates. The NFL trade deadline is less than a month away, and the rumors, the news, and all of the chatter isn't slowing down anytime soon. So lock us in, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. That way you don't miss anything around the black and gold. Now, I want to set the scene here and have a conversation about a trade because obviously the Saints are lacking picks. And for a rebuilding team, you need draft picks, you need rookies, and you need guys to rebuild from the ground up and get the roster back in a good position. Right now, you're missing a 4th and a 7th round in 2026, a 6th and a 7th round in 2027, but you actually have an extra pick in 2028. You have 3 7th-round picks, no 6th-round pick, and then 2029, you go back to 1 pick for every single round. So let's get into the conversation. ESPN suggesting this, Rashid Shaheed swapping in the black and gold for the black and yellow. I don't care what Pittsburgh Steelers fans say. It is black and yellow. Wiz Khalifa said it. This is gold. Y'all wear yellow. But here's kind of how the trade would go. So remember the context of the draft capital you have in 2026. You would get back that 4th-round pick that you don't have, but you would be now not having a 5th-round pick, and you're still lacking your 7th-round selection. So why would you trade Rashid Shaheed? I've been on the record many, many times saying I don't want to trade number 22 whatsoever. He's one of the few people that are untouchable in my opinion. But he's 27 years old. He's in the final year of his contract. He could be seeking a pretty nice payday, and he has had a couple of injuries in recent years. And in terms of money and the finances for number 22, I like to look at Jameson Williams' contract. He signed about $26.5 million per year. So the question is Rashid Shaheed worth that? And to be honest, that's actually not crazy for wide receiver 2 type money. But the conversation is, are you going to be able to afford Shaheed and Olave over the next couple of years? Those are 2 very fair questions to ask. And when it comes to Rashid Shaheed, I would prefer to at least get something in return rather than just letting him walk away in free agency and potentially get a comp pick. I'd rather maximize the return if you were insistent on trading this player. Now, personally, I would prefer to keep Rashid Shaheed, and I'm not going to shy away from that. He's one of the best deep threats in the entire league. The Saints, their offense already lacks explosive plays and explosive playmakers. So my question is, why would you trade away a very explosive playmaker? He's averaged over 15.5 yards per catch, 15.6 to be exact. That's the 4th best in the National Football League over his career, which is pretty crazy considering this was a UDFA, and I understand, you're getting hung up on an undrafted free agent. Yeah, because this UDFA is pretty damn good at football, and he's really fun to watch, and he's a walking highlight reel. And so when you have this conversation about trading a wide receiver, whether it's Olave, Shaheed, Cooks, Vele, Tipton, doesn't matter. If we're talking any wide receiver, we're talking any pass catcher, trading away one of those players would impact the development of a quarterback. Spencer Rattler is your starter. Doesn't seem like he's getting off the field anytime soon. If you take away one of his best weapons and his most explosive weapons, it will hurt him. It will hurt his development. And you will not get as accurate of a read on Rattler if you lose him. Doesn't matter if it's Olave or Shaheed. And the story is the same with Tyler Shuck. If you take away one of the most reliable and exciting weapons on the offense, it's going to impact the quarterback development. So proceed with caution when it comes to trading a wide receiver. And I think that it doesn't make a ton of sense, especially when you're lacking explosiveness. Like, that's been the big problem with the Saints. They don't score a lot of touchdowns. They are not very explosive. They're good at driving the ball downfield. They just can't finish, and they can't create big plays. So why would you get rid of the player that creates the big plays? Why would you get rid of the player who has been helping you score? Why would you get rid of the player who leads the team in touchdowns right now? It just doesn't make a ton of sense in my opinion. So revisiting this trade idea, I don't necessarily love the compensation. Like, I like getting the 5th or the 4th round back. I hate giving up the 5th. Like, I just personally don't want to give away a different pick, but I understand to make the value a little bit higher, get the 4th-round pick in return. What would you do? Would you accept this trade? Would you decline this trade? Type A for accept, type D for decline. The live chat on Saints Now by Chat Sports is not a fan of this trade idea, but let me know what you guys think if you're watching this one on demand. Now, we're going to get into the other trade idea around a fan favorite. You might have seen it on the thumbnail. Number 7, Taysom Hill, has also been linked to a trade. We're going to break it down here in just one moment, but first things first, got to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. This episode of Saints Now by Chat Sports brought to you by Prize Picks, and we make decisions every single day, but over on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid, so don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. And if you download the app, use code CLNS, you'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Josh Allen's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. It's very, very easy to use. Here's a lineup that I have for this Saints versus Bears matchup this week. I'm going to go with Caleb Williams, the longest completion, more than 37.5 yards. Saints give up a lot of big plays. I could see them dusting us on at least one long touchdown or one long pass, especially if it's a 3rd down, God forbid. Kendre Miller, it's going to be a prove-it game from him. He's going to want to stick it to Dennis Allen. I think he's going to try to find the end zone a little extra hard than he normally does. And Spencer Rattler, I've been really impressed with him this year, so I'm going to take the more on his passing yards. If you follow this lineup, you put down $20, you will win $110 over on Prize Picks. Follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use code CLNS, and you'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Reminder to use code CLNS, or just click the link in the comments and description of this video to get started with Prize Picks. It's the best daily fantasy sports app in the whole wide world. Put your ball knowledge to the test and try to cash in over on Prize Picks, where it's always good to be right. Trade idea number 2. This one, voice crack. This one, I actually don't hate it. I'm going to be honest. I don't hate it. It doesn't get me super jazzed. I will say it's not something I'm in love with. But when you consider the player that Taysom Hill is and you consider what he does for the team, it is hard to kind of accept the facts of, oh, you know what? It might be time to just be done with it. So you would get a 2028 6th-round pick. You would be sending away a 2028 7th-round pick and Taysom Hill. And here's what ESPN had to say on this trade. While Kellen Moore would obviously prefer to have a player with Hill's unique talents on the field, the Saints would add a little bit of extra draft capital in the process. Hill would get a chance to play for a team with meaningful football ahead in the final days of his NFL career, and I suspect he wouldn't need much time to learn the playbook in Denver. Obviously, has ties to Sean Payton. Obviously, Sean Payton paid him a very lucrative contract. And I know for a fact that there's probably no bigger fan out there than Sean Payton, Taysom Hill. Fair to say. But when it comes to trading number 7, that's actually one that's kind of tough to do. And it's not necessarily from a player standpoint. It's not necessarily, or like from an on-field production standpoint. Obviously, you're going to miss the unicorn that is Taysom Hill, and you're going to miss all of the things that he provides to your team. It's not the worst idea ever to move off of him, though. Like, my thing that I keep going back to when it comes to any trade conversation about any of these players, in 3 years, when we are competing in the playoffs, are they on the roster? Are they contributing to the win? Are they a factor in that game? If they're not, it might be fair to trade them. I'm not saying you have to, but it's something to consider. I know the fan base, the Who Dat Nation, would not be happy to see Taysom Hill leave. I know a lot of people would rather keep him around and let him retire. And I know Taysom Hill loves being in New Orleans. It's very, very obvious that that's the case. And, you know, he could have decided after the injury to retire, but he worked his ass off and got back on the field after a severe and major knee injury, 35 years old, and he's back in October. He suffered that injury in December. It's pretty damn impressive. And that's just a testament to what he is and who he is to this city. And I think when it comes to Taysom Hill, he can still be a really heavy contributor to the offense. Like, long term throughout the season, I think that you could easily see him get a lot of action in the red zone. I do think you could see him throw a handful of passes. I think that you could see him get a lot of action on those QB powers. That being said, on the very limited runs we've seen him have, feels like he's lost his step a little bit. Of course he has. He's 35 years old. He just got healthy from a severe knee injury. Of course he's lost his step. That's kind of where I just get back to him. Like, he can be a contributor, no doubt, and I value that, but if you can trade him and you get something nice, at least something respectable, maybe it's something you consider. The Saints need to prioritize the future. Either way, doesn't matter if it's Cam Jordan, doesn't matter if it's Demario Davis, doesn't matter if it's Alvin Kamara, doesn't matter if it's Shaheed, Rattler, Olave, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who we're having a conversation about. The future needs to be the priority. Not right now. Not next week. But you need to take into consideration the future when you are game planning right now and for next week. If Olave, if Shaheed, if Taysom Hill are not a part of that equation, it does have an impact on the offense, and you could see the unit as a whole, not just the quarterback, struggle and have some bad moments, just for what it's worth. So I want to have the question, and I want to have you guys, or get you guys the opportunity to answer the question. Would you trade Taysom Hill? What do you guys think? Just yes, no, maybe so. Let me know in the comment section, would you trade him, or would you rather just see him retire in the boot? I personally would like to see him retire, but I don't think it's the worst idea ever to trade this player away. Appreciate you guys for rocking and roll with us here on Saints Now by Chat Sports. From my guy Loco Lopez, y'all stay golden, and we will see y'all next time.